Book. Welcome to Comic and Screen. I'm Sam Martin, and with me is Jason that have now been announced. In this video, we're going to be talking about the creative teams that have now been announced for the DC Rebirth event that's coming this summer. DC Rebirth is kicking off with a big special issue, 80 pages for $2.99 in May, and then a lot of the books are getting a Rebirth issue, leading into some new number ones. Action Comics, Detective Comics, though, are not starting with number ones. They're actually going back to their original numbering up in the 900s on their way to 1,000. But in this video, what we want to do is run down 5 things that we are excited about having looked at the creative teams for DC Rebirth. So let's first of all talk about a topic that we've talked about recently because of the TV show and the digital comic called Adventures of Supergirl. But in DC Rebirth, we're going to be getting a new Supergirl title ongoing series. This one is written by Steve Orlando and art by Brian Ching. So Jason, what do you think we might be getting with the Supergirl thing?
Well, I think Steve Orlando's been around for a while, so that's an interesting choice for a writer. I'm not super familiar with Brian Ching, but yeah, it's interesting to see if they're going to have a big influence from the TV show or they're going to kind of do their own thing. But I wouldn't be surprised if they kind of have either the vibe visually or a bit of story things that tie back to the show, because the show is doing pretty well and it's definitely got its own fan base. So I think it'll be interesting to see how they handle that.
Yeah, I'm really curious too what version of Supergirl it's going to be, because we've been reading the Adventures of Supergirl digital comic, which it brings the blonde hair back, but it's tied into the universe of the TV show, and the TV show is pretty fun, fairly popular. The New 52 Supergirl was quite a bit different. Like, she was very much an alien out of this world, trying to get to know things, and so her arc was kind of very different than the sort of, earthly type of thing that's going on in the TV show, where it's very much a American kind of sitcom or an American kind of situation. So there's 2 different things to draw from, or they might go back to a kind of a classic thing, from the 80s, where you have the sort of prototypical Supergirl that we might think of from the past.
Right.
So I think it could go a lot of different directions. Brian Ching, I'm not very familiar with his art. He might have, I think, be doing something with the Star Wars stuff over for Marvel recently.
No, okay.
But from what I've seen, looks pretty good, and I'll be interested to see what the Supergirl design is for this one.
That's cool.
Next up, we're also excited for Green Lanterns, which is plural, Green Lanterns. And this is written by Sam Humphries, coming over from Marvel. I think this is his first book for DC. And art by Robson Roca and Ardian Syaf. So you said you've read a little bit of Sam Humphries. What do you make of his writing, and what do you think that means for Green Lanterns?
Yeah, I think he's done some team stuff at Marvel, so that works good for Green Lantern because there's a lot of different characters depending which characters they pull from the core. But I think that, getting ready for eventually another Green Lantern movie, and Green Lantern being in the Justice League movie, they're doing something cool, and they're going to have like a female Green Lantern and someone they kind of focused on before. I think it was called Simon Baz, with kind of a different background. So it's cool. The Green Lantern core always had a lot of diversity and things like that. And I think they've told a lot of good stories with Hal Jordan. So it's going to be cool to see somebody else kind of get a shot at it.
Yeah, you're right about the teams. So I haven't read Sam Humphries, but his resume shows the Ultimates and Guardians of the Galaxy together with X-Men.
Okay.
So yeah, he does seem to have this pedigree of working with a group of people, carrying a book. And this Rebirth definitely seems to have DC paying attention to the movie universe and what's happening in other media. And with Green Lantern Corps coming up, several years down the road, I kind of like this direction of taking Green Lantern and making it more of a, like a group or a police group or a police force where you're following multiple characters rather than just one single person at the front and center of the whole book.
Yeah, that sounds good.
So I think it'll be curious. And like you said, it's definitely a way to bring in some diversity in multiple ways. Like, you can have gender diversity, you could have alien diversity, or you could have race diversity of the kind of human Green Lanterns. So I think that could be a good call as well.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, number 3 thing that we're excited for, also connected to the movie universe, is Suicide Squad. So they've been trying to find their flow with Suicide Squad. They had Suicide Squad, then they had New Suicide Squad. Now they're starting again with the number 1. This time we've got Rob Williams writing, and we've got Jim Lee on art duties, also with Philip Tan. So for me, I'm excited for the Suicide Squad movie. I'm also excited to see what they might do in the pages of this book at the same time that the movie comes out. I like Jim Lee's art, and I think he could be pretty cool on Suicide Squad, thinking of some of the characters that might be in the squad, and then thinking of Jim Lee kind of coming to it might be pretty cool.
Yeah, I would agree. That's probably why they're splitting out the book too, because Jim Lee is a great artist, but he does take his time sometimes.
Hmm. Hmm.
There is a one shot coming out this week as well, a Suicide Squad one shot that's drawn by Jim Lee, so that might kind of set it
Mm.
up a little bit. So I'm going to check that out and see what it's like. I'm all for more attention being put on Suicide Squad before the movie, because if they want it to do well, it's not something that's going to like get a lot of people going to see it right away just because of the decent actors that are in there. Like, it's not exactly a household name as far as comics go. So
Right.
anything they can do to give kind of more, you know, interest in it is a good thing. And
Hmm.
it's had some good runs before in the past, like the old school run in the '80s that I liked and things like that. And they always could throw in different characters, so I did like that aspect of it.
Hmm. Yeah, and Rob Williams is writing it, and I've been reading Rob Williams, who's had the Martian Manhunter series for
Okay.
the last year, and I've really enjoyed that series a lot. It's a new take on Martian Manhunter, and you find out that some of his background is not really as it seemed, or it's not as we kind of assumed in the past.
Oh yeah.
And Rob Williams definitely knows how to write comic books because he had stuff going big in a way that you could never film it or it could never work in any other medium. But on a comic book, you can fit it on the page, you can draw it. And so I think that'd be cool to bring that same kind of sensibility to Suicide Squad and having throwing the Suicide Squad in some pretty big stuff that you can draw, but
Yeah.
you know it might go bigger than you can even do in the movie.
Well, that sounds good.
Now, our top two things that we're excited about from Rebirth might not be a surprise if you watch some of our other videos because both of us are Superman fans and Batman fans, and so that's what we have at number two and number one. So, first of all, let's talk about Superman. We've got the Superman ongoing title. Now, Peter Tomasi is going to take over the writing duties. It's going to be coming out twice a month. Patrick Gleason and Doug Mankey are going to be on art duties, teaming up because it is going to be coming out pretty frequently. We also have a new Superman, which is written by Gene Yang, who's the current writer on the Superman title, and Victor Bogdanovich is going to be doing the art duties on New Superman. So, what do you make of that stuff?
Well, first of all, the Superman title should be interesting. I reading rumblings. We don't know which Superman it's going to be. If it's this pre New 52 Superman who came back, or it's going to be the Superman we've read for a couple of years. So that's
Mm-hmm.
kind of interesting to me. And Patrick Gleason's not bad as a writer. Tomasi's had some good comics and some okay ones, but Doug Mankey is a great artist. He drew
Mm-hmm.
Justice League for quite a few years. So
Mm-hmm.
his take on Superman was nice in those books. So I'm looking forward to that. And then the Doug Chang one, or sorry,
Gene Yang,
Gene
yeah.
Yang. Sorry,
Mm-hmm.
I'm really interested in that because we both felt that his take on Superman, or maybe where he took it over, it just wasn't great. There was too
Mm-hmm.
much going on, and it was very different than the book I think needed. So something like this is really right up his alley, where he can kind of play on things from his own past and his own history, being an Asian American, and what would happen if somebody got these powers that was Asian, and kind of gives it a different vibe. So I think that's cool for a DC book.
Yeah, I think that new Superman seems like a really creative take, and it could be pretty cool. And I think you're right; it might play more to Gene Yang's strengths,
Hmm.
having it maybe set in China, have a Chinese sensibility to it,
Yeah.
and have this character kind of come up with Superman powers, and maybe having the freedom of, I'm guessing this is just going to be Gene Yang's story of like, okay, tell your new Superman story. You don't have to worry about some dictums from editorial. You don't need to worry about fitting it in with the other Superman books. I'm thinking Gene Yang can just do his own thing,
Yeah.
which might work out a lot better than the Superman title did, where he was trying to fit in the mythology and the myth brawlers, and he was trying to fit in San Francisco and Oakland as a setting. And it just never quite clicked.
That's right. Yeah, for sure.
And on the Superman book, I agree with you. Like, it seems like some good creative people on the Superman book, and I think Peter Tomasi is a pretty solid choice. He's not groundbreaking in his writing or the stuff that he goes after, but I think he's pretty solid. Like, he's
Yeah,
just
yeah.
he puts in some pretty good stuff. And we do have a new costume. It looks like with kind of blue boots, which I wasn't totally happy about the first time I saw it because it seems like
Yeah.
blue pants going into blue boots. It's like they almost merged together where you can't even tell that they're boots.
Yeah.
But we'll have to see how they play out, and then, like you said, see which of the two Supermen that are currently coexisting, which one actually is the Superman for that ongoing title.
Yeah, unless they do something weird, like the reason one Superman loses his powers is because the Asian Superman gets it in China. That would be a weird storyline, but I wouldn't be surprised if that was coming from the guy that did the last Superman run.
All right, our number one thing here is the Caped Crusader, Batman. Oh, yeah. So we've got Detective Comics, but we've also got the Batman ongoing series, will be twice a month. That's going to be written by Tom King, who I've been reading in Omega Men, which is really awesome. He's also been writing Grayson and The Vision over at Marvel, and all of these books with Tom King have been getting very high critical acclaim. He's going to be working with David Finch and Mikel Janin. And there's also All-Star Batman, which is going to be Scott Snyder's next Batman book, working with a bunch of artists, but some of them are John Romita Jr., and Jock, and that All-Star Batman is going to be monthly because I think it was from Bleeding Cool, that Scott Snyder wanted to be monthly. He did not want to be pushed into a bi-weekly book.
Yeah, I heard that as well. And for me, first of all, the Scott Snyder book is something I'll jump on, no questions asked, just because the guy's done such an outstanding job with the character. As far as the artists go, as long as we're getting stuff that delivers, what they're the different styles for each character and whoever the villains are in it, I think it'll work well. We've talked about John Romita Jr. before on Superman, and like, if he could do the good kind of rough and tumble Batman fight scenes, I think it'll work well. So maybe they'll stick with that. And then Tom King, the Grayson stuff I read was really good. So I'm looking forward to that. David Finch, I like his work, but like, I feel like it's like getting to the point where there's nothing special about it. Like, it's just super detailed and it always looks kind of the same. So we'll see if he can keep up that schedule. He'll probably just be, sharing art duties with someone else. And then the other book, who was the other Batman writer?
Tom King, Scott Snyder. I don't actually have Detective Comics in front of me, so I'm not sure who's doing that one.
Yeah, but
wait, is it James Tynion maybe?
Yeah, that's probably it. So I got a bit of hope for that too, because he did a lot of co-writing with Scott Snyder on some of the Batman annuals and some of the backup
and the weeklies,
tales. Yeah. So I think he's got a good handle on the character too, and I am interested in Detective and Superman, Action going back to the original numbering, and hopefully there'll be some cool stories in there.
Yeah. With Tom King, you mentioned him being really good on Grayson. He's an ex-CIA agent, so I wonder how he's going to bring that kind of idea into Batman. But just the way that he's put together Omega Men has been very impressive. It's been like a master class on writing a 12-part comic book issue, and so I'm curious what he has in store for Batman. And I know too at DC that they were taking pitches, so like different writers came in and pitched what they would do, and so he probably pitched something that really caught DC's attention. So I'm excited to see what that was. Yeah,
I mean, one of the books, I don't know if it was that one, but really was focusing on Batman's kind of like as a team book, and then one had apparently some new, these characters on the cover that were wearing blue kind of crime-fighting outfits. They are like vigilantes who don't think Batman should be a vigilante in Gotham. So that's kind of a different take on it too. So it should be interesting.
Yeah. All-Star Batman. So John Romita Jr., not my favorite. Yeah. His style can work, but I remember in Superman like issue 38 or 39 or something, Batman showed up in the Superman book. Yeah. So John Romita Jr. drew Batman a little bit, and I did not think Batman looked that great. Right. But I'll give it a shot because, like you said, Scott Snyder as a writer has me very interested.
Yeah, story-wise.
Other artists, though, I think are going to be better than John Romita Jr. Like Jock is on there as well, and I think he's pretty good.
Yeah, Jock's done Batman before, and it's excellent. And there was a couple other guys mentioned that really should make it for a nice book. And like we said before in the other video, it's got the weird story like Batman and Two-Face like going across the country like with people chasing them and stuff like that. So it sounds pretty different. So.
Yeah, and at $2.99, I'm pretty excited for that price all the way across the books.
Yeah, no doubt.